Hi. My story also begins with me starting as the executive director of an organization, and in this case it's the PCC Farmland Trust, and it was 6 years ago. And 6 years ago, when I started as a new executive director, I took a pulse of what had happened in the past, and I got the sense of both a really mighty team who had great aspirations to save farmland for organic and sustainable farmers for its environmental benefits, but also to make sure that there's food into the future. And yet we were a statewide organization in a little small office with a few people. And the methodology was something like wait by the phone. Wait by the phone, and an organic farmer will call and say, oh my gosh, I've got land problems. And then we would be like the team that would swarm in. The swarm was 2.5 people, and would swarm in and really suss the situation, get to know a lot about the piece of land, know the farmer pretty well, and then kind of leave. And even though that might take several years, this organization at 10 years old had done some pretty regular activities across the year, those 10 years, but hadn't really hit its stride. And that's what I thought, well, I'm the first full-time executive director of this organization. What we want to do is hit our stride. We want to do more. And I talked to board members, talked to my colleagues who I worked with, and we came up with, let's do a good strategic plan, let's think about what our theory of change is. And we really focused on this idea of focus. Let's focus geographically. And we thought about it because not only did we think that in concentration we would get more of the environmental benefits and more of the, almost economic benefits, more farming, more farm sustain an ag community, but that we could also, in that way, kind of work closer with community. That really our benefit, our social cause, our mission is really a community. It's not just an individual farmer. So let's start working in community. Where are we going to choose? And we choose the Puyallup Valley. We looked at all the places we'd worked in across the state, Walla Walla and Squim and other places, and we thought this makes a lot of sense. And the reason is it's got a great history here of farming. It's a very significant part of the farming history of Washington State, but it was also under great stress. This was a place where, in fact, we were trying to figure out what to do with the land, and there was a lot of pressure for warehouses, and there was pressure for residential, and there was pressure for all the other ways in which we need to use land, and yet it was this really prime land from a farming point of view. And of course, farmers can't farm concrete, and that's what farmers, routinely would say to me is like, grab it and we'll figure out what to do with it later, even if there isn't a farmer on it. So with that kind of great mission and huge enthusiasm, we came and we had our ideas and we thought, let's learn about this place and let's share our enthusiasm, and we've got our idea, so we know what we want to do, and surely there'll be others who want to share this. We started talking to the long-term farmers in the community, and they were they didn't see it quite the same way. They said, this place has seen better times, and there aren't tractor dealers anymore. There's no processor anymore. This is hard. It might be that we can't recover this. I don't, in other words, they were essentially saying, I don't share your enthusiasm. In fact, I don't think you can do that. And it's like, let's keep on scrapping around. Surely somebody else really enjoys this, because we had decided that we needed strategic partners, and surely they would just fall from trees, right? And because we had such a great idea, and so we're talking and we're meeting people, and all of that was, going pretty well, but we weren't getting that kind of traction, and we really got that sense that we weren't getting the gist of what was going on. And we definitely had outsider syndrome, this kind of like, we're just not really getting that sense that we're a community member just because we've got a good idea and a lot of enthusiasm. So as we're, saying, well, let's at least do what we do. Let's, do a project, to conserve a piece of property. There's only good that will come from that, but we won't get that big nexus of an idea. A problem presented itself, and it came from a friend of ours who was an organic farmer who had actually first introduced us to doing work in the area, and we were a little bit hesitant because what it was a land use battle. A land use battle goes like this. A piece of property is going to be slated to be used. In this case, it was once farming. It wasn't farming any longer. It was now kind of slated for some good development, but in a sense, concrete on farmland, and the land use battle is, should it no longer be agricultural land? So that's, where we kind of thought, but that's not what we do. We don't do land use policy. But nonetheless, we kind of entered into it. And the way land use battles work is they are battles. There's two sides. Everyone's lawyered up. And, at least it was principled. We were on the principled side. We were on the side that said, let's sustain farming. So that was all right? But then as it started, dragging through the process, it turns out there's a third side to this table. And the third side are some people who knew to do something we didn't even know to do. And that was the county and another conservation organization. This would be people who'd normally be our allies, but they were working for a mediated, way smarter idea about how to get past this, which we didn't even know, but, we'd already made a side, and it's a legal proceeding. You can't, just pull out and go, let's go with the third side, So, it's kind of dragging along. It's not going somewhere. We're not feeling like we're making friends. And we sure don't feel like we're leading anything, or we're following along. And we're following, we're finding a project or two, and we're working along. And, people are still calling from other parts of the state, but we're not getting traction here where we wanted to be. And pretty shortly thereafter, we get a call. And the call is, an invitation to me to come with a set of other people around a round table. And this round table is literally a place where people who come from many different perspectives who wanted to talk about the idea of making sure there would be farming in the future that would grow food for people here and would, be a good asset to the land and the water quality and would grow good food. So, it's like, here we are with our people. And it was an invitation. And so suddenly that land use battle looks like, we are at least there. We'd been brave enough to take on something that, frankly, we weren't particularly good at, but we'd at least made clear that we're here. So that's turned out to be the opening to a lot of strategic partnerships. And suddenly at the round table, where we really, and it's the some of you may have heard of it, the Pierce County Ag Roundtable, which has grown into a much more sophisticated organization, does lots of things, and there's people working on farming, and there's people working on marketing food, and there's people trying to think about food access. Really wonderful, all kinds of different great things. Farmers markets, wonderful group of people. Some of you are here tonight who I recognize from that. But the main thing is that we created a way to actually work with others. So from there, now move ahead 5 years, we've conserved many more farms, and we've got a whole lot more in our docket. So that's the good news, that the work continued, and it's all about sustainable agriculture and making really good changes that will help the water quality as well as produce good food. All of that is really good. So what's the lesson for us? One, it started out with a strategic plan with a real idea about what we wanted to do. And so the lesson I take from that, and the strategic plan said, get strategic partners, without a kind of like, how do you do that? But we had forgotten something really important, and I take this really personally. I used to be an organizer. How did I not know this? But communities aren't created, communities exist. And your job is to really tap and understand what is there rather than kind of form some new group. You join a community, and what you then build is trust. Trust is our last name, right? Farmland's our middle name, trust is our last name. And yet we had forgotten the part around trust, and you have to earn trust. And more than that, trust is an exchange. You can't just be trusted, you have to trust. So and that takes time, and you have to build time in for that, and then you reap the benefits of it. So the other part of the strategic plan was we're a statewide organization, and we thought, get some strategic partners, do a whole bunch of good, say goodbye, move on to another place. And we're still here. And that same organic farmer who brought us here and got us into the land use battle was at a celebration recently of a great next couple of conservation projects, and there were lots of people there, and it was really fun. And he leaned over to me and he kind of said, "You're still here." And it was kind of like, yeah, he said, I didn't think you'd stick around that long. And it was that great memory that the point of strategic partnerships is that, it's people. And so as you get to know people and trust people and they trust you, the riches unfold over time. So you can't actually kind of do that kind of parachute in, make some good friends, and leave, because you won't get the benefits of those partnerships. You have to do them over time. And we're now doing things we never imagined, working on things we never had thought of in our original, kind of strategic planning. And we have many ways in which I think we can be an actor here and intend to stay for the long run. So, thank you.